today's session, we are basically going to have a conversation with Srivarshini Srinath and Surya Ramesh, both of whom are our students last year, both of whom are actually 99 percentiles in CAT, and both of them have actually cleared their calls of IIM Ahmedabad. So first of all, to start off, I'll say congratulations to both of you, Srivarshini as well as Surya. First, let's just start off by talking about what were your profiles. So we'll start with Srivarshini. Can you tell me a bit of background about what was your degree in academics and what was your work experience like?
Yes, so basically I'm from the commerce background. I did my BCom from MOP Vaishnav. I got 98.4% in 10th, 98.9% in 12th, and then 89% in my undergrad. And I also finished my CA inter when I was doing my BCom. And after my undergrad, I worked with Ernst & Young for close to 12 months. And I'm also a CFA level 2.
Okay. That's great. And Surya, the same thing for you. Can you let us know what your profile was?
Yeah, I'm a general engineering male candidate. I completed my BTech in computer science engineering from Shastra University in Tanjore. And post that, I worked for a year as a full stack engineer in this company called Appco in Chennai. And then later I switched to Amazon and I've been working there for the last 2 years under the App Store org.
What was your 10th and 12th percentage, Surya?
Yeah, 10th I had 10 CGPA under CBSE. Then I switched to state board and I had like 95%. In undergrad, I had 8.8 CGPA.
8.8 CGPA. Okay. So Srivarshini, so what made you decide to take up the CAT as an examination? When did you decide that you want to pursue an MBA? And before you started preparing for CAT, what was your level of aspirations?
So actually my whole journey to convince myself that I was going to do an MBA, it began quite early. So when I was in my college and I had finished my CA inter, I had the option of quitting college and continuing with my CA. But then I wasn't very sure at that point and I wanted to explore other options. That's when I started talking to people and exploring my options. And that's when I heard people talk about their experiences in a B school doing an MBA. And I think that the whole course structure of an MBA, the case-based pedagogy, that's what intrigued me a lot. And also my sister was going to do an MBA at that particular point. So I think that's something that motivated me as well.
So family this in pressure or something like that?
No, it wasn't family pressure. It's just that, and also being from a commerce background, naturally I had my interests on as to how a business works and from different perspectives and stuff. So right. I feel that in college, second year, I realized that I want to take up MBA after college.
Right. So did you think that, say before starting your MBA itself, did you think that I'm going to get into IIM Ahmedabad and no other college is good enough for me? Did you have that kind of an aspiration when you started off?
So when I applied for CAT, so we had to select which IIMs we want to apply to, right? So that time, I applied only to the top 6 IIMs, plus Shinox, the top 7 basically. And I knew that I wanted to do it from one of the top 6 IIMs, but I don't think I made up my mind that I wanted to get into IIM Ahmedabad because that time it seemed very far-fetched and something that was unachievable. Right.
So Srivarshini, you have been our classroom student as well. So I'm going to continue talking to you about that particular journey because it's a very interesting journey that you had. So can you take us through the process that when did you start preparation? When did you start your classes? When did you take your first mock?
Right. So I actually started my classes pretty late. I started preparing only from the beginning of June, from the beginning of July. So that's when I started attending classes and started prep. But I would say that my full-fledged preparation began towards the mid of August. So that's when I started, analyzing every section particularly, separately and figuring out what to do, what not to do. And I took my very first mock in the second week of September, which again, I would say is pretty late. But yeah, so in September, primarily, I started taking mocks.
Right. So September, you started taking mocks. So when did you start feeling confident? When did you think that I can crack a 99 percentile? Definitely that was not during the first mock, right?
Definitely not. My first mock went very bad. And so the thing is that I started taking mocks. It was 1 mock a week initially, and slowly I escalated that to 2 a week. And then finally towards the end of October, beginning of November, it was every alternate day. So I would say that it kind of wavered because initially I would get a good percentile and then it would drop and it wasn't very consistent. So I would say that mid-October it became decent. Like I started getting over 90 percentile, but obviously that wasn't enough. And again, towards the end of October, my scores dipped. So probably like in the beginning of November, I would say I was pretty confident that I would get a 94 plus percentile, but I don't think I was ever that confident that I would get a 99 percentile.
So I think our stories match because we were also following your progress with respect to the mock. So I remember Ajay sir, Kushal, and I also having a conversation that maybe Srivarshini has the capacity to get a 99 percentile. And that started around, I would say, first week of November is when we were starting to talk about it. Right. Okay. So Surya, now I'm going to talk to you about your preparation as well, because I think your preparation timeline was exactly the polar opposite of what Srivarshini's was, right? Because Srivarshini started in September for a CAT in November. And you started 3 years back, right? Because you gave CAT thrice, right? So tell us, like, what was the experience the first 2 times, and how did you like keep yourself motivated for 3 years?
So yeah, so the thing is, my first CAT attempt was in 2017, right out of college. I knew that I didn't want to join even if I got a seat there, so I didn't prepare like really seriously. I just took the past 2 last year CAT papers and solved them, and then directly went to the exam. Then my verbal was always good, so that area was not a problem. But I got hammered in the other 2 sections, and I got close to like 95% in the first time. Then I thought, okay, fine, this is something that I can improve with practice. So the next year I put in a lot of efforts, and I took close to like 20-30 mocks, and it was mostly self prep apart from the mocks. Then I got 98.7 percentile, but that wasn't enough to get a lot of calls from the good IIMs. Then later this year, I started prep really early, around June, July, because I also had a full-time job, and managing mocks and the full-time job was challenging. So because I've taken the CAT over 3 years, covering the syllabus wasn't a huge issue, but getting into stride and then getting the strategy right took a lot of time. One thing would be good is like when you start preparing for CAT, you should also have a good backup option so that you don't have a lot of pressure on your side. Because CAT is really fickle, and it has always been between DALR and quants for me. When I did one section well, the other section always used to take a dip, right? So on D-Day, you don't know how the paper is going to be or what section is going to be tough. So you don't want to be carrying a lot of mental stress with you inside the exam. Right. So having a good backup option, or like having your like path set out, saying, okay, this is the year this is going to be my final attempt, or this is going to be like the real attempt that I'm going to take, that will help you.
Right. So, Surya, as you know, that there are several different aspirants who actually give CAT multiple times, and some of them have faced a lot of disappointment also. Like after having put in a lot of effort, they have failed to get a call from the college of their liking. So what kind of an advice do you have for those students?
Yeah, actually, for GEMS, it's difficult, and we should come to terms with that. The earlier you do, the better it is, because it's not a secret anymore. You probably need 99.5 plus if you have like a little bit of work ex, right? So the sooner you come to terms with that, the better. And obviously the shock of even getting a call or not getting a call will be there. For instance, like I got a call from Bangalore the second time I wrote CAT. But because my percentile was like borderline, even with an okay interview, I wasn't able to convert, and I missed out by like 10-15 wait lists. So what I did is I took that admit letter and I wrote Ahmedabad next to it, and then I had a small code. So yeah, it's important to find your bearing on why you want to do an MBA and what you would like to settle with. For instance, I always wanted to go to IIM Bangalore. So this time, because I am Ahmedabad converted, it was good. So be very clear on what you want, and that should keep you motivated.
Right. Thanks for the motivation, Surya. So next thing that I'm going to ask both of you, I'm going to start with Surya once again, because you're right now, we are in conversation with you. So of the 3 sections, which one was the most challenging for you, and how did you manage to address that challenge?
Yeah, I think it has to be DALR, because the tricky thing about DALR is question selection, right? You are like 5 minutes into a set, and then you realize, okay, this is actually a difficult set that I should not have picked. So that intuition takes a lot of time to come. I felt that in quant, even if you get stuck on a question, you can probably skip it after a minute or 2. So I personally had a lot of trouble with DALR. And the only way to improve that is to take mocks and become familiar with all the different question types.
Right. And Srivarshini, same question to you. I think I know the answer, but still, go ahead. Which was the most challenging section for you?
So for me, initially, I was facing difficulty with both DI and DLR and Quant. But I think, as you were saying, the more mocks you take, the better you get at it. So for me, DLR was fine after a point, but Quant was very difficult for me. And I had the problem of identifying what questions I would be able to solve quickly. So that was my problem. And the thing is, I wasn't able to cover all the questions. So like I would start a question, get stuck with it, and then because of that, I would lose a lot of time. So that was something I had to work on. And geometry was not my personal. So I made it a point to write the important formula and concepts on sticky notes and just like stick it everywhere in my house. So that kind of helped. And I think taking more mocks and analyzing my mocks helped me, identify which questions I could have done and which questions I could have dropped. So I think mock analysis helped me a lot.
Mock analysis helped you a lot. Okay, fine. So now just moving past CAT, let's go to the process of GDPI. So Surya, as you were saying that you are a GEM, right? General Engineering Male. So you ticked all those three boxes properly. And then you also went on to take the fourth box of having an IT work ex, which people consider as the most banal, mundane kind of a profile that actually applies to IIMs. So do you think that was a measurable disadvantage when you went for your interviews? And if yes, how did you manage to offset that?
I don't think it's like a measurable disadvantage as long as you can justify why you are in IT, right? And if you're able to relate it to the work you're doing and how it has helped you grow as a person, that is one way to sidestep that issue. But most of my interviews, I did not find them revolving around my IT work experience. Because I work for an e-commerce major, I was mostly faced with questions on e-commerce, how it's looking in India, stuff like that. So as long as you have your current affairs in check, you should be able to do well in interviews. And for the most part, even if they have an IT question for you, and if you're able to drive the interview to topics that are non-core IT related, like say current affairs that you're comfortable with, then you'll be able to drive the interview in a direction that you want, and it'll go well.
Right. Okay. So coming to you, Srivarshini, so Surya was saying before that it's always good to have a backup option, something to fall back on, which gives you a lot of confidence that, okay, even if CAT doesn't work out, you can do something. But you had quit your job before CAT, right?
Yes,
and as is the case with so many other students. So what was that level of fear, and was it motivating, or is that a disadvantage? What do you think, say, with respect to quitting your job? How did that affect your performance?
Yeah. So initially when I quit my job, so the thing is, I mentioned earlier that I was a CFA level 2 candidate. So I quit my job primarily to study for CFA level 2 in June. But I had only 2-3 weeks of prep, and obviously that's not enough, and it didn't go so well for me. So then I realized that CAT was the next big milestone, and I made up my mind that I was going to do well. And I feel that when things aren't going so well, so say if you're not getting a good percentile in 1 or 2 marks, it's fine. Like that's not gonna that like your final CAT percentile doesn't depend on this. So like I think one should always realize that it's important to pick oneself up and move forward to the next mark and like check where they went wrong. So I think that's what kept me motivated. There were times when I thought it wasn't going to work out, but I always kept learning something or the other from my previous marks. So I think that's what motivated.
So this fact that you had quit your job, did this come up in the interviews that why did you quit your job and things like that? And how did you justify that? It did?
It came up in every single interview. So all of them were focusing on my gap year and the few months of gap. And I would say that it is very important to convince the interviewers that CAT is not the only thing that you're engaged with, So it's always important to tell them about your passions, how you're working on your passions. So what I did was when I was in my college, I volunteered a bit and I really liked it. So I thought I would take that up as well. So I volunteered with a couple of organizations during that period. And I'm also a singer. So I basically had to convince the interviewers that, I was working on my music as well. And so basically just convince them that you're engaged with different things.
Right. So absolutely do not say that I quit because I wanted to prepare for CAT. That should not be the course of attack of that question is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there is this thing that people believe in, that people who get into IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore or IIM Calcutta, the top three, the thing is that the students who get into these colleges are different, are at a different level, and they feel that I'm very average and I will not be able to get into these colleges. I should have a little less, say, levels of aspirations. So what do you have to say to that? Do you think that you had that X factor? Do you think that you are like a cut apart from the others? So I'll start with Srivarshini. What do you have to say to students like that?
So I think that the way my mock scores were going probably answers that question. So till the end, I wasn't very sure as well if I was going to get a call from IMA. But I feel that, you don't require anything extraordinary. It's just that you require good academics, obviously. But otherwise, if you put in a lot of effort and you're determined that you want to do it, you can always achieve it. So I think for me, till the end, I had to like motivate myself because things weren't going in the direction I wanted it to. So I would say that, even if that happens, don't lose hope, because things will work.
So then what do you think made the committee at IIM Ahmedabad select you? What was the thing that set you apart, you think?
So during my interview, the whole conversation turned into a debate. So they basically were they were looking for the fact that, if I have an opinion on something and if I would stick to my opinion, because they kept arguing for everything I said. So that's what they were checking. And also, I think the way I spoke, it showed how excited I was about this entire journey and how passionate I was about it. So I think probably that's what helped me get through.
So Surya, what about you? What do you think was your X factor which made them select you over the others?
Similar to what Srivarshini said, I don't think you need any X factor. I mean, for in the interviews, you just have to be honest, and you need to show them that you're passionate about doing an MBA. And because your undergrad was in something technical, and you have to have a plausible reason for why you want to switch, or like have reasons to say, okay, in the past I've had this idea as well, and this is what I've done to substantiate it. So that kind of gives them the belief that you will actually make use of your 2 years well in IMA. And if you're able to do that, then I think the interview will go smoothly.
Right. Okay. So what we had done before this is that a couple of days back, we had actually floated out a Google form for our viewers, for our Facebook subscribers and everyone to put in questions. And several of them asked several questions, which I think most of which we have actually talked about and addressed in this particular session. But there are several different questions about the process of the interview. And since both of you not only have given interviews for IIM Ahmedabad, but for so many other colleges as well. So what do you think is tested in a B school aspirant during this process of GDPI and VAT? Starting with Surya.
So each institute, I feel they have their own things that they test, right? Because if you take IIM Indore, you know that the interview is going to be like heavily acads focused. And similarly, if you take like a Bangalore interview, expect it to be in like a certain casual way, and you don't expect to be grilled a lot. But that may not be always the case. So in my Bangalore interview, like I got asked a lot about what Alexa does. So one of the questions that I remember is like, okay, children speak to Alexa. They don't say please or thank you. Do you think it affects their like personality in the long run? So you have to be prepared for like random questions, and you have to be able to think on your feet.
Right. So thinking on your feet and say having proper levels of research for what each college tests you is what is important. Okay. So Srivarshini, similarly, what was the most interesting question that you got asked during these interviews?
So I think I would agree with him when he says that, each B school has their own way of asking questions. So for me, all of my IIM interviews, the first question was, what is the meaning of your name? So I think that, things like that, you might not think it's important, or you might think it's funny, but it matters a lot. And my most interesting question was in my Bangalore interview. So I mentioned that I was a singer, right? So the professor there asked me a question which involved Carnatic music and math. So that's something I never expected. And I mean, I didn't get it right, but it was a very interesting process. And
right.
That was very interesting.
Okay. So see, definitely all this preparation for CAT as well as the interviews, it is a pretty rigorous process, right? You have to brush up on so much of current affairs as Surya had pointed out, and you have to be ready to justify say different gaps in your profiles. And there's a lot of things that you learn through the way. So like this journey must have changed you in some way or the other, or must have taught you a few things. So what are the top 1 or 2 changes that you feel that you have gone through this process? So starting with Srivarshini, can you tell me what are the changes that you see in yourself?
Yes. So So when I had my very first mock interview, I think you remember. So it turned out to be very dreadful. So I got all nervous and I wasn't able to answer the questions. So and you asked me to use the mirror technique. So literally from that day, I used to stand in front of the mirror and talk to myself. It probably sounds insane, but that helped me a lot because I realized that I had important calls and there was no point if I couldn't convert them. So I think I worked on that a lot, and probably like that helped me become more confident and more self-aware. So this whole journey has been very interesting. So you learn a lot about yourself because in interviews they might ask you what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. So you have to self-introspect a lot, and I think I learned a lot about myself as well.
Right. Similarly, Surya, this process, what do you think has contributed to you as a person?
Yeah, first thing is like coming to terms with the fact that even though if you give your 100%, there are some times where things don't go your way.
Right.
And but the realization that any hard problem you'll be able to solve by surrounding yourself with the right people and getting the right training. But the point is, it'll take a long time for you to get ready for that, to solve that tough problem. It doesn't happen overnight. For instance, I used to be bad at interviews, and after getting like interview training from like CL, that improved a lot. But that was a process of 2-3 months. It didn't happen overnight.
Right.
So yeah, coming to terms with the fact that it is a tough problem, and then coming up with a proper strategy to solve it, that I don't usually think that that long term. So that was something which I had to change.
Right. Okay. So we are almost at the end of today's session, but before that, I would like to talk to Ajay sir. Ajay sir is also present in this meeting right now. So sir, do we have any questions that you think needs to be addressed, or do you want to take up any queries from the viewers?
So there's a person here who is asking me what was their study plan, and can they discuss that out as to how they prepared and what are the plan like when they prepared for the examination, CAT exam.
Right. So Srivarshini, how many hours do you think per day? If you started in the month of September, how many hours per day?
September, I think I would have. So the thing is, I had, since I wasn't working at that point, I had a lot of time. I think probably around 7 to 8 hours a day. So I would spend 3 hours on a mock, and then quite a few hours on mock analysis, and then taking a lot of topic tests and sectional tests.
So the days that you are not taking a mock, then probably about 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, probably.
Right. Okay. And Surya, of course, I'm talking about 2019 CAT. Okay. So by that time, you've already given CAT twice. So I don't think that it would be as hectic as Srivarshini's, because she started September, right? So
yeah, I had most of the syllabus done already. So I started around June, July. I didn't give a lot of hours, maybe like 1 hour every alternate day, because work was also super hectic.
right.
But by the time it got to like October, like September, October time, I decided that, okay, we at least need to spend like 3 hours a day to give mocks and then analyze it. So I used to give like a sectional every morning before work, and then I used to come after work and then analyze that sectional. On the weekends, I used to take a mock on Saturday and then finish some syllabus and then analyze it on Sunday. So the thing is, like before CAT, I also took a week off, and at that time I spent close to like 6 hours a day.
Right. Okay. So towards the end, you have to keep on ramping up the amount of hours that you put in. Makes sense. All right. And Surya, what else did you have apart from academics and co-curriculars?
So I didn't have a lot of co-curriculars actually. In college, I did like the department tech fest and stuff. Not it's like pretty ordinary things.
Okay, that is one thing that I want to talk about. How impactful do you think organizing department tech fest in colleges is going to be in the interviews?
They didn't ask me explicitly in any one of those interviews in the last 3 years. So
So that is one doubt that comes up several times with us. Like the students ask us that, sir, I don't have any kind of co-curriculars. I don't have anything special that I've done in terms of co-curriculars. No sports, no fine arts or anything like that. So what do you have to say to that? Do you require co-curriculars?
Not exactly. As long as you are able to like justify what other things you did in college, or like the other interests that you had in college, that should be good. I was only grilled that way in only one interview, and I thought that was because I wasn't able to answer the other questions. So
so there's a person who's asking me. I wanted to ask them about how should one analyze the mock. Suppose I write a mock and I get a score. I get the section-wise analysis as well as I know my weak and strong points. what next? How and from where should I practice next? And somebody also has asked, can you just let us know what are your sources of reading comprehension? Did you read different journals and websites and editorials?
Okay, so I think first I'll take the mock analysis question. So what do you do, Srivarshini, after you figure out that which is your weak section? What do you do with respect to this in quant specifically?
So in quant, if I find that there's a particular chapter that I'm weak at, I make sure that I keep working out questions from that chapter. And one more important thing I noticed was if I study a chapter, say in July, and like till August or September, I haven't touched that chapter, then I lose touch with it. So it's always important to keep taking topic tests throughout so that, you know, you keep in touch with the topics. And I would say that it is important to not only analyze the questions where you went wrong, but also the questions where you went right, because there might be a different approach that would help you solve the question in, you know, lesser amount of time. So basically my weak points are just like practice more and more problems.
So Surya, do you have anything to add to that? Anything
Yeah,
specific?
so before every mock, have like a target that you want to reach, and for me it was always like 4 sets of DILR. No matter how tough or how easy the paper was, the bare minimum was 4 sets of DILR. That didn't happen for a lot of reasons. I just tried to figure out where my time allocation went wrong, and if I attempted a question, what was the reason that I attempted the question. So that helped hone my DILR strategy.
Right. And the second question, Surya, did you read any other journals apart from practicing reading comprehension?
No, I've always read like novels, so I did not prepare specifically for VARC, but for current affairs, you can read Live Mint and other online journals that are available.
Right. So Srivarshini, similarly, did you do anything apart from practicing reading comprehension?
No, I just took a lot of mocks and took a lot of sectionals for RC.
Absolutely. So I am also a reading comprehension trainer. So I would actually vouch for that. Nothing helps you prepare for the VRC section more than practicing reading comprehensions. Of course, it is important to get familiarized with certain topics. And if you feel that you don't have a diversified reading habit, then that is something that you need to develop anyway for your own personal development. So if you feel that you want to get a good language content of reading and you want to develop a sense of attention, then I generally suggest students that you should go to international websites like Daily Mirror, Guardian, New York Times, Wall Street journals, and those reading those will put you in a place where you can read articles in a better language or in a different language or from different topics that you're not generally familiar with. That can help. But as Srivarshini has said and as Surya has said, nothing helps develop a sense of getting a good score in reading comprehensions than practicing reading comprehension exercises.
So one more question here. As I understand from their answers, current affairs is a very important part of interviews. Starting from now, what can I do to improve my knowledge of current affairs? So probably Surya and Srivarshini can let us know what they did for current affairs.
Yeah. So Surya, you said Live Mint is something that you used to follow. Is there anything else specifically that you did for current affairs?
I used to read the newspaper daily, the Hindu editorial that has a lot of opinions. So I find that opinions are more valuable in interviews rather than just the raw facts or like news tidbits. So read the newspaper daily, and also like once you join the CL course, I think you also get the write up for all the current affairs. That helped me a lot, especially with respect to budget.
Mm-hmm. Great. So Srivarshini, do you have anything to add to that? Anything else that you did?
I pretty much read the newspaper as well, and I followed this particular site called FinShots. So any finance-related information, they provide in a very concise manner. So finance-related topics, I would refer to that, but otherwise, pretty much what's read.
Right. So we are going to conclude, but before concluding, Surya and Srivarshini, both of you, what kind of words of motivation do you have for these future aspirants? So I'll start with Srivarshini, ladies first. So what do you think is going to help the future aspirants?
So I think there are quite a few things to remember or realize when it comes to CAT. One thing is, it's not about answering the maximum number of questions. It's about gaining the ability to pick the questions smartly. And one more thing I wanted to mention. So it's very important to start every section with a fresh mindset, because this really helped over time. Because in my actual CAT exam, the VRC section did not go well at all. The RCs are very dry, and I wasn't very confident of the answers I had keyed in. So it's very important to once you're done with the section, just leave all your thoughts there and move on to the next section with a fresh mindset. So I think that is something that's very important. And I would say that if you just put in your 100% and keep at it, keep analyzing all your marks, find out where you went wrong. And also, if you get stuck somewhere, don't hesitate to reach out to your mentors and get help. I think that this process is going to be quite smooth. It might get hard at times, but never lose hope, is what I would say.
So, okay. So Surya, last questions to you, of course. What kind of an advice do you have for the future aspirants?
Yeah, so the thing is, CAT does not require a lot of talent. I wouldn't consider myself like a genius or like have very good math abilities. So what I would say is CAT is more along the lines of like consistent practice and getting a strategy right. So take a lot of mocks, discuss it with as many people as you can, and also have like a very good idea on what you want to do if CAT doesn't work out, because don't take all that pressure into your exam. So have like a good backup plan as well.
Right. Okay, so thank you so much, Srivarshini. Thank you so much, Surya. So all the very best for your MBA.